So I want to start this video off with a full game spoiler warning. If you've not completed Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I suggest that you come back to this video after you've done so. So in this video, I'll be covering the current strategy for the free category of Uniquely Disadvantaged. If you want more background on this guide series that I'm going to be making, I'll have a link in the description to the first video where I talk more about the structure of this series. I'll also have other useful links for mechanics and general information in the description, as well as a pastebin to the written version of the build and strategy that I'll be covering in this video. With that out of the way though, let's go ahead and get into the build that I'm going to be running here today. So for this time attack, Ricky is going to be the main damage dealer of the party. For the attack that he's going to be using, he's going to be making use of Final Cross, so you're going to want to basically just have him optimized for damage. Final Cross does get boosted by Electric Plus, so you want this because it's the best additive you can get, as well as I just joined Attack Stability and Attack Plus. It is worth mentioning that the Attack Stability can be traded out for First Attack Plus, and that this technically would work for the strategy as well, and it might also be faster as it could allow you to beat Wave 3 in one less hit than I do in my video. But this is far less consistent, and even then it's not guaranteed that you'll be able to beat Wave 3 faster than I do, or in fewer hits than I do, so I typically don't run it whenever I've done attempts of this. Other than that, I'm just running Ether up to the maximum Ether up to further increase Ricky's damage, the Medium Nibbler since it's his strongest weapon, as well as Initial Tension to get him up to high tension at the start of the battle, which will increase his critical rate from 35% to 50%, which is very useful as you need to land a lot of critical hits for this strategy. Other than that, just a quick step gem so that the movement that you have to do is faster. Ryan is the second character that I'm going to be using. For his weapon, you want to have the Atomic Driver with First Attack Plus. This is because you're going to need Ryan to basically not necessarily one-shot an enemy, but do a lot of damage to finish an enemy off. Then just have him falling on support and damage, so Ether defense down and weapon power up, so that he can inflict Ether defense down more easily on Wave 3, as well as just strength up, pace, agility, so he can actually hit in quick step. Finally, the last character that's going to be used is Melia. The strength up gems that she has aren't super important, but I just have them there because there's nothing else to run. The important gems for her are weapon power, Ether defense down, and double attack on her weapon, as well as haste on the glory gauntlets, agility up, and quick step. This is because we're going to be using Melia for her summon bolt for Ether support, as well as to inflict Ether defense down with her auto attacks. We want her to be able to hit the high level enemies, as well as to be able to just get off a lot of auto attacks so we have a higher chance of proccing. For the arts, the only arts that matter for Ricky is you need hero time and you do need it to be max level. You're going to have Final Cross on his talent art. Final Cross is an incredibly rare art to get from the arts gacha, but it is the one that is used in the best strategy, as well as the True Activate Monado so that you can spam Final Cross as much as you like. Final Cross should also be at max level. This means you're going to have to be doing a time attack for this where you have to set your arts inheritance with a time attack that has Final Cross on Fiora, because once you do Arts Inheritance, that's the only way to get it back on her. And that's about it for what Ricky's arts need to be, just these three. For Ryan, the only art that matters is the Pawn Spectre Sword Drive. Basically, the reason for this is that Pawn Spectre Sword Drive is an art that Ryan will want to use automatically. It has a high priority to use, so he'll use it as soon as the battle starts, which is very important for the strategy. His talent art doesn't really matter. You kind of just want it to be a talent art. You don't really want to have a standard art on his talent art because that can cause some weird things to happen and make him stop auto-attacking. Blossom Dance just happened to be the talent art that I had on his art palette, so that's why I put it over his talent art for this. And finally is Melia. Summon Bolt is the only art that she needs, and you're going to want to have it at max level because the cooldown does matter. For skill trees, I have Ricky on critical rate up. As I mentioned before, you're going to be wanting to land a lot of critical hits for this, so that's very important. Then I'll go ahead and scroll through his skills right now. Basically, you just want to have his skills to maximize his ether damage, as well as one of the important ones to have is, I'll get to it in a sec, this Solid Foundation, which grants immunity to blowdown attacks. Blizzard Bel'Ghazos during wave 3, if you don't kill him fast enough, can inflict blowdown with Mountain Stomp, and that can be very annoying and mess up your run. Ryan, I have him on Spirit just for extra strength and extra damage. I'll go ahead and go through his skill trees skill links real quick. He's mostly just focused on physical damage and having just physical damage and quick step for the most part, as well as agility so that he can actually hit. Amelia is pretty much set the same way, except she doesn't have a skill tree, so she doesn't have a strength up skill tree, so I have her on agility up just to make it easier for her to hit Abbacy during wave 3. She has a lot less skills linked because her damage output doesn't matter as much. And those are her skills. So with all that out of the way, I think I'm going to go ahead and get into the video review section of this, so I will see you in a second. Alright, so in this section I'm going to be kind of commentating over my my personal best at this as the time of recording, and kind of going over what the strategy is in the actual battle itself. So as the time attack starts, what you're going to want to do is, I'll go ahead and talk about this before it happens. You're going to want to target onto the center enemy, use hero time, then use final cross, then switch your targeting over to Conflagrant Ragzeo, the left enemy, and have your enemies focus on that. So we'll go ahead and see that here. Hero time and activate final cross, and I switch the targeting over. And so melee will automatically use a summon bolt, getting you some more ether up and starting the cooldown on that, while Ryan will start running over to Conflagrant Axial. And you can see right there he starts using the Pawn Spectre Sword Drive. It has the same animation as Wild Down. And he kills off the enemy, which gets Ricky an extra 20% ether up because of the skill that I have linked to him. Wave 3 goes down in 1 art. Ricky finishes off Conflagrant Axial for me. And I go ahead and I actually walk a little bit farther than I need to here. Kind of around here is probably when you could get away with activating the art. But basically you want to be on the left side of this little insignia here on the ground. And then, so I'm going to explain this before I actually show it, because it is, again, a bit complicated and a bit convoluted. Whenever you start attacking, you're going to want to call your enemies to come to you, because you don't want Melee to use Summon Bolt right away, and you want Ryan to stay behind you. This will be important here in a second when I will explain the next part, but I go ahead and use this, and right about a little bit before that's all. Probably right about here, you're going to want to focus the enemies onto, or have your enemies target the enemies. So you're going to want to use the focus your attacks command. And the reason for this is it will cause Melia to start using Summon Bolt as you kill wave 3. I'll get into why this is important here in a second, but just know that that's what you want to do. So you want Melia to start using Summon Bolt as wave 3 goes down. You can see right here she is currently in the animation for it. And I actually made a little bit of a mistake on the run. You really want to target on the Avalanche Abbacy here. I was targeting on the Bel'Ghazos. It doesn't really matter in the end, but it could have mattered, so that's something I wanted to make note of. Because you do get first attack plus from a skill link that you have with Fiora, and you don't really need the extra damage on Bel'Ghazos, but the extra damage could be useful on Abbacy. So I just smash onto Final Cross, and you can actually see Melia here. She didn't put away her weapon, so she didn't have to draw it out, and she instantly started running towards Bel'Ghazos. And that's I'll get to a less obnoxious frame, but that's the reason why we wanted to use the Call to Me, because it skips Melia after putting away a weapon, which means she can run over to Abbacy quicker and start inflicting Ether Defense down on him. So just as a quick, the next thing that I do is I target onto Abbacy because of that mistake I made earlier. I switch the targeting over to him, and I tell my allies to focus their attacks onto Abbacy so that they will run over to him and inflict Ether Defense down on him. From this point till the end of the run, it's just spamming Final Cross, so I'll just go ahead and let that play out. Actually, I'll go ahead and go back to the start of the wave so that we can kind of see it all in one go. So I focus them onto Abbacy. Melee runs over and inflicts Ether Defense down. Ryan also gets a proc off. And I'm able to kill Abbacy with only the first hit of the third Final Cross. And I'll go ahead and let this play for a second, but it is theoretically possible to not need to use a third Final Cross at all, but I've never had a run that was successful for that. As I mentioned before, using first attack plus over attack stability could make that a bit more possible, but it would make wave 2 a lot less consistent, as well as it would increase your damage range on wave 3, which would probably also make that considerably less consistent. It's something I wanted to make mention of though, and so I did. With all that out of the way though, I think that's about all that I really have to say about this run. So I hope that you enjoyed and found this useful and interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.